Part 89. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 884. Boom, there was a raging fire on the body of the sword. The fiery red water was flowing, the flames were rolling, wherever it went, there was hot dehydration, and there were still many dripping flames behind the sword. Subsequently, Xiaolai sword with a whole body of flame, plunged into the blood. Oh, those pus and blood were instantly evaporated, withered, and the smell of scorching smell filled the air. As soon as Zhang Tian knew it was bad, he turned around and wanted to run away, but Ye Kong had already prepared and threw a 5-thunder curse. The blue thunder light tumbling slightly in the dark clouds, falling abruptly, beating Zhang Tian one by one, then the purple jade fierce water sword that followed a circle around his neck, and a head rolled down. Zhang Tianyi's Jin Dan fled and yelled, "I will take revenge on the surnamed Ye." However, Ye Kong was ignorant, flew to his body, and tore off his storage bag very skillfully. Of course, Ye Kong didn't let him run away, and when Jin Dan passed a black mist, he suddenly jumped out of a blue wolf, biting Jin Dan in his mouth and chewing. Howling Wolf eats Jin Dan, and spit on the yin of the underworld on the top of an unknown mountain, sighing, "Compared with those yin, this Jin Dan is much more tasteless." Ye Kong sneered, "Yes? If you want to eat too, just like Jin Dan." The Howling Wolf King was also a stunner in his heart, shaking his tail and flying over, "I just said it, who doesn't know it's important tonight, and if you let me go, I won't go. Whoever disturbs me about Ye Kong, I will kill him." Ye Kong coldly sang and looked at Hao Yangzong and others who were fighting zombies over there. The people of Hao Yangzong were frightened by him. Zhang Tianyi, who was afraid of each other, didn't leave 2 rounds in this guy's hand. The old man with the old surname Ma no longer had any idea of treasure hunting and shouted, "Master Ye, this matter has nothing to do with me. I just want to leave." After shouting, shattered the charms in his hands, Hao Yangzong fled clean. The leader of the dead Yin disciple, busy came to ask Ye Kong, "Master Ye, do you want to search? We have a zombie specially searched and you can find it anywhere you flee. Just want to leave? Do you want to leave without using a charm?" Ye Kongji smiled sarcastically, "Even today, everyone is on guard, and in the future we will go to Hao Yangzong, we must be responsible." "No." Tianyi fell, the black and white double shaman hiding in the dark was shocked at the moment. "I thought that Zhang Tianyi was above Ye Kong regardless of his mental cultivation, but he didn't expect to be killed by the other person so soon." "Already?" Beisha said, "Brother, what shall we do now?" Haisha lovers died, angered, and hummed, "Tianyi, I will not let you die in vain. Since you can't get the evil spirit of the underworld, it's for the teacher to get it." Beisha was shocked. "Brother, if we come forward, wouldn't we find it?" "Stupid," Haisha cursed, "I thought Tianyi killed Ye Kong, but then God didn't know it, but now Tianyi has been killed by Ye Kong. The name of Ye, as long as he tells things to fall to heaven, you will still find it." Baisha nodded. "Then we will do nothing and endlessly. While Swayan Lion is entangled in falling sky and tan feelings, we first collect Xianxia and kill the surname Ye, and then, if we have the opportunity, we will kill all they fled without a chance. We live in Black Dragon City." "It is good." Haisha Beisha both flew out. The 2 of them were still far away from the battlefield here. After all, the 2 master monks who fell into the sky and Tan Qinghui were too close and would inevitably be found. When they quietly flew over, they found that Ye Kong had already merged with them. He heard that Zhang Tianyi wanted to take the yin shat. He nodded, "Yes, these underworld yin is the best treasure of the underworld cultivation. It's rare to see their anger, and they can't help but take risks." Falling Sky then spoke loudly, "Hi Shabasha, don't hide. In fact, I have long suspected you. I just absorbed my corpse venom. Who else is besides you, but I keep saying to myself, don't doubt you, everyone had a brother. Before falling to heaven, a white shadow jumped out and scolded, "What brothers? Let me ask you, I was the one who established Yinshizong, please come, why didn't you come?" Falling embarrassed, he said, "I was obsessed with studying the teleportation method at the beginning, thinking that such little things." Beisha was furious, "Little things? We started a party and it was just a small thing for you, forget it, I ask you again, you get through to the Kangbei channel and take so many denominations, I just ask you a word." Baisha yelled, "Did you ever think of us then? Even just thinking about it?" Baisha's words were deafening and dazed, and he was stagnant in the fight against Suian Lion's fallen sky. A person who always dared to be a dare cannot help but open his mouth. At that time there were too many things, again and again, "My daughter. I asked if you thought about it. It's true that the sky is down, sorry, no." At this moment, Haisha's voice suddenly sounded after falling into the sky, "Then you are not dead." It turned out that the dialogue between Beisha and Fallen Sky was false, in order to confuse his mind, while Hiza approached Fallen Sky by stealth magic weapon and carried out a sneak attack. But I did not expect that. Fallen Sky was not surprised, and said, "In fact, I already knew that you were coming. You didn't just save me with this magical power, well, do it, I will return my life to you no more owe it." Not only was Yekungtan's feelings astonished, but even Haisha was surprised, he didn't expect the sky to be so refreshing. To say that at the beginning, Haisha saved the fallen sky, and that's why they wanted multiple helpers, because the fallen sky wanted zombies, they wanted treasures, and everyone would save him without conflict, although there is kindness, there is no need to pay for life. But Haisha didn't let it go, he relentlessly said, "Then you will be perfect." Haisha's shot is the strongest black evil spirit. Since he killed, he won't keep his hand to prevent any conspiracy and tricks from falling into the sky. The black evil spirit instantly wrapped the fallen body. You can see that the fallen sky didn't have any resistance and did not run away. It turned out that it really gave his life back to the black evil spirit. Seeing that the fallen sky wrapped in evil spirits was swallowed smaller and smaller, Yekong and Tan Qinghui looked at each other in a daze. They did not think that the sly person who fell into the sky had a sense of righteousness, and even the righteousness to Yekong felt stupid. Could it be a different idea? It's a pity not. Most of the fallen body has been devoured by evil spirits, and even the human form is gone. Beisha laughed, "Brother, I can't think of it. This guy is so stupid as to be so stupid, yeah, now there is a late Yuanying and a monk who just got into Dan, we killed them, and then collected the underworld. What a shame." After Bai Sha finished speaking, he took out a crystal clear little Suian lion from the spirit beast bag, and said, "Kill them. Otherwise, It turned out that they caught the Xianxian lion to seduce, and no wonder the two Suian lions worked so hard for them. But at this moment, a strange laugh came out of the fallen body wrapped in evil spirit. "Hey evil, you are really ruthless, but you are really ruthless, and even Laozi's Yuanying is not willing to let go." The voice did not fall, and saw that the black evil spirit was torn open a hole, and the fallen Yuanjinjinjinkan's Yuanying villain came out, and he also held a small black puppet in his hand. Haisha's eyes flickered, and she said coldly, "Going to the sky, I didn't think your Yuanying was so powerful. My evil spirit can't hurt you. But, if your body is not destroyed, I'm not your opponent, but you are now just a Yuan, how can you bear me?" The fallen Yuanying kicked off the evil spirits, floated in the air, and said, "Since you are not kind, I have nothing but injustice." The fallen cold hum is full of murderous intentions, and Hexar was suddenly shocked, frowning, "Did you want to explode the Yuanying? Fallen, you advise you not to do stupid things. If you escape now, hide in your zombie hole and cultivate for hundreds of years still recover, don't do needless stupid things." When Hiza said, even Yekong and others were startled. Yekong busy said, True King, no. The wide scope of your explosion will definitely affect Yitong Zhenjun's spells. Who said I want to explode Yuan Ying? He Tian smiled and said, I don't know if my corpse Yinzong has a last resort to borrow the corpse to return the soul. After falling off the sky, he raised his hand and threw out the little black puppet in his hand, and yelled, Borrow the soul. The black puppet grew up instantly, and the fallen Yuan Ying also turned into a little golden light and got into the black puppet. Tan Qinghuai Zhenjun was shocked. I heard that the dead Yin sect had such a trick and it was born. I didn't expect that it was true to borrow the corpse to return the soul. The little black puppet became lively immediately after Yuan Ying entered, and gradually grew into a heaven-like appearance. Yes, borrowing the corpse to return the soul is the true method of existence and the biggest secret of the corpse Yin sect. At this moment, fallen sky is exactly the same as the fallen sky before him, and he said with a high crown on his head, it is only used once in a lifetime. Bai Sha scolded, you are still stupid. Although you are alive again, do you think you are worth it? Tian Tian laughed, it's worth it? Of course it's worth it. To be honest, those words you asked just now made me feel guilty. Yes, it's guilt. I have committed countless guilt in my life, and I've never been guilty, but today, you were asked to have blushing, red ears, and guilt. If I kill your brother again, I will only have more guilt in my heart, and guilt in my life. This guilt will become your demon, so that your future practice will be affected, Hiza said with a gloomy expression, so you simply use the method of borrowing corpses to return the soul. Although you have wasted the opportunity of this life once, but you can completely throw away the negative effects this incident has brought you, abandon your burdens, and fall into the sky. You are really hard. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 885. It turned out that in an instant, Haisha already knew the mind of falling into the sky. These old monsters were smart. At this time, Xie Tian added, moreover, I can take a thorough look at your two brothers, and now I kill you, and there is no more clutter in my heart. My life has been repaid, and you and I have no debts, so, come on. Haisha laughed, do you think you can kill our brother? It's a dream. You have used it once to return to the world, this time, I see you die. After Haisha finished, he released the magic weapon and battled with the sky, while Baisha rushed out, and topped the 7-star ancient sword of Tan Qinghuai. To say that the black and white Xianxia is really not the opponent of the fallen sky and Tan Qinghuai, but don't forget that there are two red beasts. The two snow rock lions are like two small buildings, and they are rushing towards the golden gate array on the hill. Rush away. Not good. Falling Sky and Tan Qinghuai were surprised, and did not dare to fight. A teleportation blocked Suiyan Lion. However, just after blocking the blow from Suiyan Lion, the black and white Xianxia also moved over from the back and attacked the two of them from the back. The Sky and Tan Qing were pregnant with their stomachs, so they had to sacrifice two different instruments each, and the left block suddenly burst into danger. At this moment, Tian Tianhuai and Tan Qinghuai are anxious. If multiple helpers are better, if Yitong Zhenjun comes out, that's fine. The key is that according to Tong Tong's practice here, Yekong is outside. Although Yekong is also arrogant, but after all, it is too shallow, so he can deal with the old ancestors of Jidan, and deal with Yuan Ying Zhenjun and Hong Huang Xiao, which is a joke. Depressed, someone not only joked, but also made a big joke. Just listen to Yekong saying, two seniors, you focus on dealing with black and white, and these two beasts let me cope. The Sky yelled, Yezi, what are you kidding at this time? If you have the strength, you can stop the lioness for a while. Tan Qinghuai followed, yeah, you can stop it for a moment and thank God, and stick to it for another half an hour, the key moment is over, that's much better. In fact, they even overestimated Yekong, and let him block a mad flood wild beast with a fresh knot. But Yekong didn't appreciate it. Give me both. The black and white Xianxia over there laughed, God down, it seems you are helping a silly boy by your own life, haha. Yekong ignored them and yelled, Dade, come out. Immediately, a young girl in pink dress and pink makeup jumped out of the scene. The four old guys who were fighting fiercely were dumbfounded. At this time, let a little girl come out to do something. Both Tian Tian and Tan Qinghuai have seen Deu, and when Yun Fuzong saw Yekende beside them, the little girl liked to hold a pink fist and said to others, I want to beat you. But no one took it seriously, they all felt that the little girl was very cute and childlike. Haisha angered, what kind of name is it? Whoever has a child, get out quickly, my husband likes to kill children. Deu was furious, squinting his sleeves, and said in a crisp voice, black-faced old man, I want to beat you. Baisha laughed, who can your little fist beat? White-faced old man, I'm really amazing. This time, even the fallen sky and Tan Qinghuai laughed, Yekong, this method of delaying time. Deu was ridiculed and anxious, she wanted to fight Haisha. But Yekong whispered, resolve the flood beast first. Deu snorted at Haisha, black-face old man, I'll hit you later. Yekong's words were heard clearly, and they all looked at Deu with curiosity. This little girl standing in front of Suan Lion is just a little bit, wouldn't we be wrong? But the scene that shocked them happened. As Deu walked by, the two immortal Hong Huang beasts took a half step back in fear, and then, both docilely squatted down, seemingly saluting the host. Humans can't see the identity of the big jade, but the beasts can still be found. The Hong Huang beast is lower than the divine beast, and it is much lower than the big jade. Naturally, it has inherent fear. Why are you all full? Get back to me soon, Deu's childish voice sounded, but this time no one thought it was ridiculous. Roar, the mother's Suan lion uttered a low mourning, as if begging for something, afraid of Deu, but reluctant to leave. The male Suan lion was glaring at Baisha. Deu Lang Lang said in a loud voice, children are robbed, kill them and get them back. If you want to be beaten by others, what kind of a wild animal are you? Now the fools can see that the situation has changed. Originally a black and white double evil and a flood wild beast, obviously prevailed. But now Hong Hong Shao is facing the battle, and there is a sacred little girl somewhere, black and white Xianxia feels danger. Baisha quickly took out the little Suan lion from the spirit beast bag, and shouted at the two Suan lions, if you dare to come, I will shoot this little guy, Baisha said, with the trick. Xianxia rock lion howled in pain. Roar, the two old Suan lions did not dare to move forward anymore, and together they made a sad call. Deu couldn't see this, she was really furious, her figure flashed, and she appeared again in front of Baisha. Teleport, both Gao Tian and Tan Qinghuai stared straight. Who can see this little girl, who actually has a practice above you and Ying? Big Jade fist waved. Boom. Faisha walked away from the stone, and a stone pit hit the ground. Fortunately, Baisha was well prepared. As soon as Deu appeared, he teleported away. But he appeared not far away, still in shock. No wonder this girl just said that she was awesome, it seems that she is really extraordinary. Without waiting for Baisha to pant, another blue wolf sprang up in the yin around him. The Xiaofeng Wolf King was originally windy and fast. After coming out, the blood basin opened wide, biting Baisha's thigh. Baisha's external body guardian chi has no effect on the Wolf King. The Wolf King is the body of the soul, and it is just fine. Xiaofeng Wolf King's teeth were deeply trapped in Baisha's thigh, which made Baisha unable to teleport. He panicked in his heart and shouted, brother, save me. Haisha didn't say a word over there. He could not support the fall and tan feelings alone. How could he have the power to control Baisha? Tan Qinghuai pointed at the 7-star sword in front of him and yelled, Tianchu, Tianxian, Tianxian, Tianquan, Yuhang, Qiang, and Yeoguang are the 7 stars. 7 stars shine, Kyushu light cold 7-star sword array. The sky shouted, Tan Qinghuai, give him to me, and I will resolve with his new hatred. Tan Qinghuai smiled bitterly, my sword formation has started, how do you let me take it back? Xianxia snorted, do NT play, you are not afraid of me escaping, want to catch me while I'm not ready to live, use me to make zombies? Stop dreaming, I can't beat you, I'm going, this revenge will be repaid in the future. Xianxia is also a savvy person, knowing that if he consumes it, he will be in danger, and he will not escape if he wants to escape. So he jumped out of the war and yelled at Baisha, second brother, nothing can be done, let's go. Xianxia finished, a teleportation left. But Baisha was bitten on his thigh by a blue wolf, and he couldn't use teleport at all. Seeing Yekong's 2 flying swords over there, Baisha also jumped off the wall, cut it with one palm, cut off his thigh, and then fled away. However, before he escaped, he felt a strong waist, and it turned out that it was Deo who moved in front of him instantaneously and broke his spirit beast bag. Baisha doesn't care much about it, just run away. There was a sound of hate and hatred from the distance, Yekong, one leg of enemies, you will report in the future. Deo wiped away the consciousness from the bag of the spirit beast, reached in and took out the Xianxian lion. The little lion, like a snowball, was also well behaved. He drew a happy face, and went to his parents. Yekong suddenly remembered that he didn't give any gifts to his sons and daughters. This little lion must be liked by the 2 children. But Deo shook her head and said, my son, let them be reunited. Human beings have affection, and beasts have affection. The little lion will miss his mother. Yekong nodded, no longer thinking of the little lion. Then, 3 snow rock lions made thanks, and then the 3 lions went further and further. Falling to the sky is to come over and sigh, I haven't even thought about it. This Taoist is so secretly hidden, and I don't know what the technique of raising interest rates, even he can't see the realm. In fact, even if the monster is modified, you can see the realm. But Deo is a divine beast, born with the ability to hide the realm, and of course the monks can't see it. Deo pouted, I won't tell you. Tan Qinghuai laughed, going down to old BT, be careful she hits you. Everyone laughed. Later, both Fallen Sky and Tan Qinghuai turned around and went back to the unknown hill to protect the law. But Deo seemed unhappy. Yekong knew that the 3 snow rock lions made her miss her mother today, so she hugged the little girl and said, Deo should not be upset. The sun must help you find your mother and Xiao. Deo was happy holding Yekong's head and kissing him on the face a few times. He took out another thing and handed it to Yekong, hey, son, I'm even a white-faced old man's. The bag was also torn off. In the underground cave house in the wild, Xianxia and the injured Baisha meet. Baisha took the elixir better and sighed, I didn't expect this time the loss was big, 1 leg, not 3 or 2 years old is not good. Xianxia was also annoyed. He didn't get anything and his apprentice was still dead. However, he thought about it and said, let's go, we can't stay here for long. The fallen people are already trying to kill the people. When they are there, they will definitely chase us. Okay, Baisha stood up. Hiza asked again, the road map to Heilongchinj lies with you. Yes. Baisha responded, but when he put his hand on his waist, his face was paler and whiter than chopping his leg. No, the storage bag was snatched by that little girl. Ah, Xianxia slumped into the chair, sighing, second brother mistakes me, second brother mistakes me. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 886. An hour later, the black clouds above the 8-door golden array faded away, the underworld vapor had all disappeared, and the moon and stars all showed their faces. After the danger, fallen heaven and Tan Qinghuai have been meditating, or they may be muttering about the identity of Deu. In short, they look at someone differently. In the eyes of these old babies, Yekong's status has been raised again and again, but every time Yekong moves, it will make them feel that they have despised the kid again. Young people should not be taken lightly. Tan Qinghuai muttered in his heart. Yekong, no matter what they were thinking, also sat cross-legged, holding the storage bag grabbed by Deu in his hand. This storage bag is used by Beixia all year round. The sense of the top is very strong, and it can't be refined in a short while. The most important thing is that Huang Zixuan's condition is unknown, and Yekong is really not in the mood to refine this stuff, so he simply put it into the storage ring and waited with peace of mind. The moon is setting, the sun is shining, and it's another wild morning. The villagers in the small village spend a sleepless night. With so much movement outside, the deaf can be awakened. Now the sky is bright, and the villagers are walking out of their homes in shock. They are surprised to see that on the small stone mountain that is dozens of miles away, there is an octahedral golden array. What's even more surprising is that those high masters of Haoang Zongxian who had been high above all had their heads lowered and stood quietly at the bottom of the mountain. The kneeling one. The old immortal teacher is not Elder Ma. A villager recognized the one who was on his knees. Another villager said, I heard that Elder Ma is an old Jindan ancestor. He is very powerful. He is also a core figure in the Haoang Zongli. Elder Jindan, the core elder, such people are kneeling. In the golden light on the mountain, many villagers are scared and stick their tongues out, and dare not say more. How Yangzong is the original baby? Going down rolled his eyes, looking at the skinny old man in front of him. Yuanying is on the 4th floor. He has just entered the middle of Yuanying, and it is not enough to look down. Exactly, little old man Li Haojin. The skinny old man said with a smile on his face, it was a misunderstanding last night. Today I am here to pay for my sins. He fell into disregard for him and waved his hand, don't tell me this, I don't count here. When Li Haojin came, he saw 3 men and 1 woman in the large array. Both male monks were major monks, and another male monk and a female monk, and he saw a fallen crown wearing a high crown. Roll, thought the sky was the boss. But who knows that falling into the sky said he didn't count. Li Haojin looked again at Tan Qinghuai wearing a checkered robe. But Tan Qinghuai has been meditating. Without opening his eyes, Li Haojin dare not disturb. In the end, there were only those men and women who were whispering. Li Haojin had to come to the young man in Xingyi again, pointing to Tan Qinghuai, and whispered, this little friend, dare to ask the predecessor, the Yekong predecessor of the mixed UN zone. As soon as I stepped out of the gate today, I heard that the Chinese-Turkish alliance of alliances had a great character Yekong, and his disciples have offended this Yekong now, so now he treats Tan Qinghuai as Yekong. Yitong Zhenjun is about to come out. Yekong is nervous. How can I have time to talk nonsense to him and wave his hand, How Yangzong? While staying, if Xian has a length of 3 or 2, he will swear to wait for you to stay. Yekong was already very hated of what happened last night. Knowing that Laozi is saving someone, will he come to stir it? There is almost no human nature. So whether it is the Hao Yangzong or the Yin Shizong, Yekong is killing quickly. Listening to Yekong's tone, Li Haojin was furious and said, what kind of onion are you, an ancestor who just became Dan? I give you face because your elders are here, otherwise I am afraid of you in the middle of a UN baby. Although Li Haojin was angry, she didn't dare to reveal her face, so she had to stand awkwardly, with a dilemma. Zhang Wei couldn't stand it. Although Hao Yangzong had some responsibilities, they had little responsibility, not to mention that people had come to apologize early in the morning. Zhang Wei euphemistically said, Li Zhenjun, my husband is bad-tempered, and he is very worried about the success or failure of this matter. I don't want to disturb him at this moment. A dare to bear Dan is bad for Monk Yu and Ying. Aren't you looking for death? Li Haojin had another defamation in her heart, and stood back a couple of steps. At this moment, a pair of Acacia disciples came out of the magic circle, and then another pair, 4 pairs of men and women came out, and Yi Tong came out. Everyone came here quickly. Ye Kong took the first step and asked, how? Ye Kong was really nervous and terrible. You must know that he went to Kangbei, and after 9 lives, he got the condensed chalcedony. The purpose is not to save Huang Zixuan. And so many things happened last night that he had to worry about. Wu Jiangwei was also nervous and terrifying, holding Ye Kong's arm tightly, for fear of hearing any bad news that could not support him. Gui Yitong Zhenjun didn't answer, but raised his hand, exposing a slender purple mineral crystal from the cloud sleeve. This is the condensed chalcedony that was polished by Yitong. At this moment in the mineral crystal, a kind face is smiling at Ye Kong and others. Success, Ye Kong was overjoyed. Zhang Wei screamed, leaving Ye Kong running and tears, Zixuan, great, great, have you found your soul now? Tong Huang Zixuan nodded and listened to Yitong. He said, she's going to lose her house when she looks back. Don't make her feel too excited. Tan Qing was carrying a goatee, smiling and nodding, and the sky was sighing. Fortunately, it was a success. A battle was fought. Yi Yitong frowned. Who did not have such a long eye last night? 2 master monks in the late Yuanying period were here, and some people dared to cause trouble. Then they heard a rumbling voice from outside. It's not these people who don't have long-term eyes. Li Haojin was startled, walked out and smiled bitterly. I've seen several seniors. Last night, some of my disciples at Haoangzong didn't have long eyes, and annoyed you. Now I have brought them to accept the punishment of their predecessors, and never tolerate it. Punishment, Yi Tong smiled, let us Lord Ye decide, I still have something to do. Ji Yitong took the condensed chalcedony into the ground in the hole. However, before leaving, Huang Zixuan had a good conscience and shouted in the chalcedony, Brother Ye Kong, don't make any more sins for me. Li Haojin didn't know who Ye Kong was at this moment. It was really stupid. He was startled, secretly shouting fortunately, but he did not expect that this young man who had become a big boss was the real big boss. Fortunately, he didn't say too much to him just now. Alas, the retreat was too long, his eyes could not work. Mr. Ye, you are old and embarrassed just now. Last night, it was indeed my disciples of Haoyang Zone. I have brought them all now, and at your disposal. Ask Haoyang Zone to have no resentment. Congratulations to your buddies for their new life, said Li Haojin, handing a storage bag. In fact, Ye Kong did not want to spare the old man with the surname Ma. Their purpose at that time was definitely to grab the treasure, not to run away. These are 2 natures. But Huang Zixuan said, don't make any more sins, then don't make it. Also listen to persuasion once. Ye Kong took the storage bag and said, since that is the case, let Haoyang Zone go. The surname of horse, let him be careful in the future, don't be fainted by treasures in everything. Li Haojin was relieved and busy. Xie said, yes, this time I went back and let him retreat and think, and made him grateful to Lord Ye, a lot of people. And Ye Kong also said, you Haoyang Zone can let go, but can be overcast Shizong must not let go. The black and white Xianxia and a disciple are bound to kill everything, and one will not stay. Ye Kong said this, also called the heart of heaven. The sky is busy, that's right, we just have to stay here for more than a month, black and white, and vow to kill. Li Haojin was a joy in his heart. In fact, Haoyang Zone was also oppressed and destroyed by Yin Shizong. The Yin Shizong is only good for them, not bad. He busily said, the Yin Sha Zone is underground in a wild place. I've been there once. There are not many disciples in this case, and they are all women. Except for He Xianxia and their disciple Zhang Tianyi, the others are all Ren. The woman they used, we will pass. Okay, old acquaintances became old enemies, that hate more than 3 points more than ordinary hatred, cannot wait to follow Li Haojin and others to the black and white double nest. However, Tan Qinghuai was busy ordering people to reset the 8-door golden array and close the top empty gate. Although Huang Zixuan's soul has been recalled, but this is the key first step. The next step is to warm up in the condensed chalcedony for a few days, find the best time for her to lose, and then observe some days. Once the body and soul are merged, it will take another month to test whether the root can be cultivated. The 8-door Jingguang array is properly arranged. It is much safer here, and even if the black and white double evils come again, they can't get in. In fact, the black and white Xianxia had been seen from afar, and I found that there was no opportunity to take it, so I had to leave. After all, Beixia is now injured again. With their current strength, nothing can be done at all. Looking at the golden formation on the mountain in the distance, Heisha took Baisha and walked into the wild wasteland of the strange stone. Kangnan has no place for us to stand. Let's go into the wild wasteland to find the Black Dragon City. Although the map is gone, but the general direction I remember. Underground, temporary Dongfuzhong. At the entrance of the widest hall in the cave, Yekong and Zhang Wei stood quietly, looking at the center of the hall. Yitong Zhenjun was preaching the Ban. As she continued to use her skills, a central rune surrounded by suspended runes space. In the middle of the space, a large white jade coffin lay quietly. Above the coffin, the condensed chalcedony floated quietly, motionless. When Yitong was busy, he came out and said, "Okay, all we can do is look at her below. There should be no problems. You just don't stay here, but it will affect her mood." Yitong said again and again, "I'm a bit tired, I'm going to meditate and recover. Yeah, I'm overworked." Yekong busily saluted and sent Yitong away, and then he and Zhang Wei also went to a empty room. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 887. Li Haojin was startled, came out busy, smiled bitterly. "I have seen several seniors. Last night, my disciples of Hao Yangzong did not have long eyes and annoyed everyone. Now I have brought them to accept the seniors' punishment. Don't appease. Punishment," Yitong smiled, "let us decide. Yeah, I still have something to do." Yitong took the condensed chalcedony and walked into the crypt. However, before leaving, Huang Zixuan had a good conscience and shouted in the chalcedony, "Brother Yekong, don't make any more sins for me." Li Haojin didn't know who Yekong was at this moment. It was really stupid. He was startled, secretly shouting "fortunately," but he did not expect that this young man who had become a big boss was the real big boss. Fortunately, he didn't say too much to him just now. Alas, the retreat was too long, his eyes could not work. "Mr. Ye, you are old and embarrassed just now. Last night, it was indeed my disciples of Hao Yangzong. I have brought them all now, and at your disposal. Ask Hao Yangzong to have no resentment. Congratulations to your buddies for their new life," said Li Haojin, handing a storage bag. In fact, Yekong originally did not want to spare the old man with the surname Ma. Their purpose at that time was definitely to grab the treasure, not to run away. These are two issues. But Huang Zixuan said, "Don't make any more sins, then don't make it." Yeah, also listen to persuasion once. Yekong took the storage bag and said, "Since this is the case, let Hao Yangzong pass away. The surname of horse, let him be careful in the future, do not be dazzled by treasures in all things." Li Haojin felt relieved and thanked him in a hurry. Yes, this time I went back and let him retreat and think, and made him grateful to Lord Ye. And Yekong said again, "You Hao Yangzong can let it go, but Yin Shizong can't let it go. That black and white Xianxia and a disciple are bound to kill everything, and one will not stay. Yekong said this, also called the heart of heaven. The bustling sky said, that's right, we just have to stay here for more than a month, black and white, and vow to kill. Li Haojin was pleased. In fact, Hao Yangzong was also oppressed by Yinshizong, and destroying Yinshizong was only good for them, but not bad. He busily said, the Yinshazong is underground in a wild place. I've been there once. There are not many disciples in this case, and they are all women. Except for He Xianxia and their disciple Zhang Tianyi, the others are all Ren. The woman they have taken, we are over. Okay, the old acquaintance became an old enemy, and that hatred was more than 3 points more than ordinary hatred. He couldn't wait to follow Li Haojin and others to the black and white double nest. Tan Qinghuai was busy ordering people to reset the 8-door golden array, closing the top empty gate. Although Huang Zixuan's soul has been recalled, but this is the key first step. The next step is to warm up in the condensed chalcedony for a few days, find the best time for her to lose, and then observe some days. Once the body and soul are merged, it will take another month to test whether the root can be cultivated. The 8-door golden light array is properly arranged, and it is much safer here. Even if the black and white double evils come again, they will not be able to penetrate. In fact, the black and white Xianxia had already been seen from a distance, and found that there was no opportunity to take it, so they had to leave. After all, Beixia is now injured again. With their current strength, nothing can be done at all. Looking at the golden formation on the mountain in the distance, Heisha took Baixia and walked into the wild wasteland of the strange stone. Kangnan has no place for us to stand. Let's go into the wild wasteland to find the Black Dragon City. Although the map is gone, but the general direction I remember. Underground, temporary Dongfuzhong. At the entrance of the widest hall in the cave, Yekong and Zhang Wei stood quietly, looking at the center of the hall. Yitong Zhenjun was preaching the Ban. As she continued to use her skills, a central rune surrounded by suspended runes space. In the center of the space, a large white jade coffin lies quietly. Above the coffin, the condensed chalcedony floats quietly, motionless. When Yitong was busy, he came out and said, okay, all we can do is look at her below. There should be no problems. You just don't stay here, but it will affect her mood. Yitong said again, I'm a little tired. I'll go meditate and recover. There is work. Yekong busily saluted and sent Yitong away. Then, he and Zhang Wei also went to an empty room. Point to play, the two sit cross-legged opposite. Yekongdao said, after this incident, I will be ready to retreat. You will also prepare for it and go back to Pipaza to retreat. If I do not go out, you will not go out. Zhang Wei nodded and said, I also strive to practice until the foundation is completed successfully. Yekong laughed. This time the retreat is relatively long. You have to be mentally prepared and take Jin Danwan with you. It is very likely that you will be born when you come out. It's been this long. Zhang Wei frowned. In fact, she was also a little careful, looking at Yekong to a son and a daughter. She looked hot, and also wanted one, but if you retreat too long, then you have to wait a long time. Was it bad for a long time? Yekong smiled and didn't understand Zhang Wei's meaning. He also took out the storage bag that Li Haojin had just sent. Originally Yekong felt that there was no good thing in such a remote place as wild, but if you open it, it looks good. It is all some inland refining materials, bones and tendons, and the grades are quite high. But Yekong couldn't use it, and Ye was not good at the refining device, so he handed it to Zhang Wei and said, aren't you quite talented in the refining device? Take it for refining. Zhang Wei shook his head at a glance. The materials are too advanced, and I can't make them well. I just learned some fur. I also said that I was going to steal a master from the ancestor. Now it's inconvenient to marry someone. Looking at little Pepper with a small mouth, Ye hollow moved, could not help but grab her. Zhang Wei lay on his leg with his head, his back was resting on one leg, and his face was red. Ye Kong laughed, "What is there to learn from that old man Huang, that old hooligan? He is just the son-in-law of the refining ancestors. If we want to learn, we must learn the authentic Fengshang family's refining skills." Zhang Wei shouted, "Looking at what you said, it seems like you are the master of the refiner." "I'm not the master of the refining master, but I have the refining masters of the old ancestors of the Feng family." Ye Kong haha smiled and took out a piece of jade Cambodia from the storage ring. This thing was obtained by killing Zhang Jud. Ye Kong had wanted to give Zhang Wei a long time ago. He had no time. If he hadn't seen Ji Zilo recently, he would almost have to forget it. "What's in jade Cambodia?" Zhang Wei opened her eyes. "I'm not saying, the ancestors of Feng family, the craftsmanship of Feng Xin Chen." "Really?" Zhang Wei's big eyes widened, and then he reached out to snatch. "Oh, of course it is true, but I want, no way." Zhang Wei was tired in Ye Kong's arms. When the two of them fought, Ye Kong suddenly felt that the fragrance was soft and pleasant everywhere, plus Zhang Wei's muttering, which made her grab Yucha. "It's really the experience of Feng Xingchen's refining device." Zhang Wei looked into the gods, immediately burst into joy, tired of sending kisses to Ye Kong's arms. Zhang Wei said happily, "With the experience and materials, I believe I should be able to make a good magic weapon. After the mother-in-law and the sister of Lu Qin Xiaohong come out, I will have the magic weapon delivered." Ye Kong nodded, and Zhang Wei still had the potential to be a good wife and mother, so she thought of her mother-in-law and sisters. Zhang Wei also said, "Just now, I see the material sent by Li Haojin. There is actually snow silk in it. I can just go back and ask my sister Bai Ji to make some silk socks, so that all the sisters will wear silk socks. In fact, Bai Ji always sells stockings in the store in Surabaya, but they are made of ordinary silk, which has poor transparency and flexibility. In this way, with silk, you can knit a lot of silk stockings, and then let the wives at a beautiful leg feast." Ye Kong nodded, "Wait back and ask Li Haojin for a little more." Ye Kong said with a smile afterwards, "Okay, the refiner has the classics, the refiners have the materials, and the silk socks are worn. Is martial arts rewarding? Where's my husband? I have been working hard to improve the reading experience, please share with friends." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 888. 10 days later, after the Yuanzhong mountain cliffs. The Hunshan Cliff of the mixed Yuanzhong is a steep cliff with a height of thousands of kilometers and facing the sea. The cliff wall at 90 degrees is covered with stone rooms and caves. In fact, sitting on a cliff is a relatively special cemetery. Those fallen Yuanzhong seniors would dig a cave in the cliff and bury it here. There are also old monks, feeling that the limit is approaching, digging a hole in the cliff by themselves, living in advance and waiting to die. The real person in charge of the mixed Yuanzhong is standing under the cliff with a group of freshmen. On a boulder that just surfaced at low tide, there were more than 10 people standing tall and short. Among them were teenagers, men and women, all looking up at the Bai's hang cliff. The head of the real person, Fuyujia, said loudly, "Dear students, this is where my predecessor of Yuanzhong sits. Each of the caves above and below each has a dead body of the predecessor of Yuanzhong. I will bring you here, not to admire them, not to mourn them." Fuyujia paused and said, "Some of the same generation as them have been robbed and become immortals and have risen to the upper bounds, some have formed into Yuan infants and crossed the human border. I want to say that some have fallen now, some people are still alive. It is death or alive, all in your own hands. If you work hard and improve your realm as much as possible, you can live and live forever. And the ultimate result of craving for fun and loss of fun is the only result. Live forever on the icy cliffs, tell me, are you going to die or live?" Fuyojia's speech and loud shouting made those new apprentices enthusiastically and roared in unison, "Live!" Fuyojia asked aloud again, "Want to become immortal or fall?" "Be immortal." Not far away, a young boy in Xingyi looked at the side with two women smiling. They were Yekong and Zhonghui Huang Zixuan, who came back from the wild, because Huang Zixuan quickly lost their house, so the integration period of 1 month was completed, and they returned to the mixed UN zone in advance. Yekong laughed, "In fact, this Fuyojia is still very good and very provocative." Zhonghui sighed, "The immortal road is difficult, dangerous, and tempting. It can truly be like the predecessor of Kuangpeng, who can cross the robbery and ascendant." Yekong laughed, "Our little chili peppers are always hot and hot, when did they become so sentimental?" Zhonghui quietly kicked Yekong, and yelled, "It's a little girl, and I'm not a little girl now." Yekong laughed, "I think you're still a little girl." Because taking Wu Dingyan, Zhonghui is still the appearance of the 10th girl, so Yekong said so. Zhonghui blushed and said angrily, "The little girl I said didn't mean that. I mean, when there is no relationship, it's a little girl." Yekong laughed again, "Zixuan already has a relationship, is it a little girl?" Zhonghui said, "Of course not, she hasn't talked to you yet." Although she and Yekong are also old wives and wives, but too much is still unexplainable. Huang Zixuan shouted, "Brother Yekong, just talk, why drag me in?" Huang Zixuan said, stepping on someone's foot, and said, "The girl is not yet 15 years old, Xiu Wei no, of course, a little girl." Zhonghui walked around with a smile, and said in Huang Zixuan's ear, "The body is a little girl's body, but the heart is not the little girl's heart, Xian, you should let your husband soon." Huang Zixuan's ears were all red, and she shouted, "Sister Wu Yi, you are now a rogue like him." Yekong certainly listened to their mischief and waved his hand. After that, Xian is not yet 15 years old, it is not urgent. It is most important to quickly get back to practice when listening to Yekong to help her. Huang Zixuan was young. Be proud, but then hear someone say, "What's more, she shouldn't be big now, she shouldn't have anything yet, not as fat and soft as Wu Yi." Huang Zixuan was annoyed by this remark, Zhonghui was angry, and the two girls didn't care anymore, and his feet crackled at someone. Ye knew that he had committed anger, and ran away quickly. Two pretty figures chased after him. This scene immediately caused the new disciples to watch. They couldn't help but wonder. Just now the head teacher and uncle said clearly that he should work hard and not play. Then these three people are so playful. Fuyojia dare not control the suzerain even when he was too bold. He looked back, coughed twice, and said in a serious manner, "This is a negative teaching material specially prepared to prevent you from going astray." Oh, the disciples suddenly realized that the uncle was really hard-working. In fact, Yekong and they did not come here to play, but also to bury people. Huang Zixuan now has a new body, and the original skin bag is useless, so she is buried in the cave behind the cliff. This burial feels strange. Huang Zixuan, in particular, seemed to be burying herself. It didn't matter, but it was very sad. After all, she had been with her for 20 years. It was grief, but it was a bit ridiculous, and she wasn't dead. What is sad? So I don't know what it feels like to have Huang Zixuan put her original body in place, and she quickly left. This feeling is really uncomfortable. Huang Zixuan is the qualification of Wu Lingan. Naturally, she is also practicing the 5 Elements Ascension Sutra. She is the master of the gods. She should practice much faster than others. Therefore, she took a large amount of elixir, kissed Yekong, and reluctantly entered. Pipa beads practice. Then Zhonghui also brought Jindan Maru into Pipazu practice. Yekong asked about the internal affairs of the case, and Li Haoshan went into retreat. Under the real person's handling, everything in the case was normal, and Yekong was about to retreat. Before retreating, he first went to the Black Demon to see if there was any message from Pan Dongzheng, and Pan Dong did not leave a message. Yekong went to the Fantasy City again, and Zhu Lingfei had not yet broken through. Sunzi, you can also practice with peace of mind, strive for an early crossing and reunion with the elder brother Kuang Pan. Yekong left Lingziqiu with a lot of elixir, although the elixir used by the monster is difficult to find, but Yekong still bought a batch in Black Demon. Next, Yekong took out a piece of white jade charm, and when he thought about it, he came to the stone room where he had come. No need to wait for the appearance of the elder Jibo this time. Yekong went directly into the back passage and entered the room where the 5 elements aura was the most even. In the Mustard Time Tower, each room is an independent world. There are heaven and earth, grassland, hills, and many stone quiet rooms. Yekong looked for the stone room he used last time, walked in, lit the array with the spirit stone, and began to calculate the time. When he came in last time, he didn't bring pipa beads either, so this time he first tested whether the time was synchronized. Waiting for a column of incense, Yekong's figure flickered and disappeared. At this moment, a toddler who walked outside a delicate stone tower stopped his pace, and said, "A moment, good boy. There is space inside. I don't know how many people I brought, this is really a big loss." Yekong said that the loss, the elder also said that it was a loss, and he didn't know who it was. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 889. Yekong looked at it, and the jade amulets were put away. He didn't want to go to that Black Dragon City to earn a spirit stone, not to mention, the painting of the stuff is really bad, just some incomprehensible lines. According to such a map, it is estimated that he did not go to Heilongjiang, first arrived at Yunye already. In addition to this piece of jade amulet, another thing that makes Yekong pay attention to is a small flag. This is a dark green triangle puppet, with a lot of weird runes embroidered on it with gold threads. Yekong didn't know it, and it seemed to add a lot of mystery. This small flag is very delicate, and the soul in the Yekong storage ring is simply heaven and earth. Yekong took out the 100 souls and trembled, the blue light flashed, and a white-necked blue wolf appeared. This is a very good beast soul maggot, very well made, a masterpiece at a glance, Xiaofeng Wolf King said after taking a look. Beast soul beast, Yekong nodded, and then said, such a beast soul is so exquisite. I don't know what beast soul is inside. How powerful is it? Xiaofeng Wolf King grinned broadly, grinning a very weird smile, but wanted to speak but was embarrassed to say. Yekong despised, well, don't put on this expression, it looks like a grey wolf. After refining and let you live in, the beast soul will belong to you. Xiaofeng Wolf King was guest at the center, he smiled, and waited for Yekong Huahua's beast soul. 3 days later, the formation. With a dozen tricks in Yekong's hands, the beast soul fell violently, and steadily stuck in the ground in front of him. After Yekong's refining, he regretted a bit. He couldn't think of a beast soul of Hong beast in the beast soul, but that Hong waste beast was sleeping at the moment, no matter how he called, he could not wake up. No wonder Bai Sha didn't use this powerful soul horror at the beginning, it is estimated that he was also unable to awaken the tiger-shaped wild monster. I'm a Hong beast. This is called a tiger, and I've been sleeping all day, but it's still arrogant when he wakes up. The most powerful thing is his eyes. As long as he looks at his eyes, he will be confused. Unconscious, and finally couldn't sleep as much as it did, and fell asleep to death. Wow, so powerful, Yekong regretted even more. However, after this guy, Xiaofeng Wolf King smiled, turned into a light group and plunged into the beast's soul. This tiger is back to me. When I eat this soul, I'm not far from the transformation. Ha ha ha. The howling wolf king eats the soul of the tiger and begins to digest. Everything in Yekong is basically settled, so he raises his hand to sweep, puts everything on the table into the storage ring, and then meditates with ease. Time flies, years are like songs. A westerly wind blows down a mountain flower, and another spring swallow flies south early. Xianxia has no sun and moon. A meditation room is a few years of inadvertent past. In a blink of an eye, the flowers bloomed 5 times. For 5 years, the Kangnan continent was just a drop in the ocean. These 5 years can be said to be the most peaceful 5 years in the Kangnan continent. The head babies of various families are retreating. The power of role models is endless, and the ancestors of Jidan have followed the practice, and the real people who built the base have closed their doors. Even those minor practitioners who practice gas cultivation have learned from them. Everyone is retreating. It can be said that the key word in these 5 years is retreat. I saw an acquaintance on the street. What have you been doing recently? Retreat. In short, you are embarrassed to come out and meet people without retreating. Just kidding. However, everyone is indeed retreating. Of course, those who have retreat will go out. The top of Yunfuzong mountain was suddenly shrouded in a cloud of air. In the air stream, there was golden light like a golden thread. With the rumbling thunder, the back of a young man appeared in midair. Yunfuzong's disciples all came out to watch. Some people exclaimed, some people were lost. This kind of astronomical phenomenon shows that some people have succeeded in forming Dan, and they are about to leave. Some people successfully exit customs, but others unsuccessfully. A tall man with a square face opened his eyes and had an irritable face in the aura-rich Xiadadongfu of Yuan zone. Obviously, his cultivation was unsuccessful. It can be said that no progress has been made in the past 5 years. This person is the elder Li Haoshan, who is a mixed infant zone Yuan infant. He doesn't know why. When he meditates, he will have a demon. In fact, which immortal practitioner does not have a bit of unforgettable things? Fairy mortals were originally people who walked on 2 straight lines, staggered only once in a while, and there was no day to meet again. Li Haoshan didn't make progress for 5 years, and was a little irritable. He said, let's go and see her ancestors. The Sri Lankans have gone. It is a conscience to care for the posterity. Li Haoshan stood up, waved his sleeves, and the formation was dissipated. He walked to a large mirror in front of the door of the quiet room and wanted to adjust his appearance slightly. Standing in front of the mirror, a tall man was reflected in the mirror. If only she could see me now, Li Haoshan couldn't help but sigh. But at this moment, there was a flash in the mirror, and a bronze face appeared. Introduce yourself, my name is Wan Li Reincarnation. I can take thousands of miles to see your past and present, Li Zhenjun. Don't you want to see the woman in your heart? Where is the rebirth at this moment? Is it hardship or pleasure? And is there a man around you? Can you continue the leading edge? The bronze face laughed. Indeed, his words were still very tempting, and Li Haoshan was there. Yeah, if you can find her current reincarnation, how good it is to continue the frontier. Even if she is born as a man, then she can be accepted as a disciple, and she can be accounted for. Looking at Li Haoshan, the bronze human face said again and again, also, in fact, Li Zhenjun, I think you can be a suzerain completely. I want you to be a master monk after the first baby. Why do you want to listen to a young kid? What do you guys instruct? Do you want to see your future? I can show you, let you see how beautiful you are. Bronze face said here. Li Haoshan suddenly laughed. I said that I have always been a demon for the past 5 years, it turned out that you guys are making troubles, haha, in your words, I am a master monk after the first baby, whoever I love to listen to, I listen to your finger and draw your feet. I think Yezone is here, we are mixing Yuan zone, I am Li Haoshan, and it will be beautiful in the future. Without him, I will still be beautiful? If he does nt come back, I am afraid that Yuan zone is now reduced to the middle door. The bronze face said busily, no, Li Zhenjun, listen to me, I have the best cultivation method, I have the strongest tactics, I can guarantee you to become in a short time, and I can let you have unexpected wealth. You believe me? That's right, we can enjoy the scenery without relying on Yekong's kid. Li Haoshan chuckled and asked, just like Sun Jinshan from Haitian zone before. The bronze face yelled, it was an accident. It was an accident. Accident? Oh, anyway, you said that I would not believe you in Dacian. Would the old man be deceived by you for hundreds of years? Let's die. Li Haoshan raised his hand and smashed the mirror. And the bronze face turned into a ghost image, flew out of the small island cave house, straight into the clouds. Well, these old guys don't seem to be deceiving. The bronze face sighed in the void and said to himself, heavenly man, I'm going to let your destiny die. Drop or be seduced by me. Forget it, I'll go around and find a chick to cheat. After the incident, the mixed Yuan zone fell into peace again. Li Haoshan did not go out, the demon had gone, he did not need to go out, just sent a note to Yekong's Dongfu, and then began to retreat. In a blink of an eye, 5 years have passed, and 5 years and 5 years have passed. On this day, a huge wooden sailing ship sailed towards the sea in the direction of Jun Yuan zone. The captain was about 200 steps long. The bow was also a few meters high from the water surface. It was a tall ship. At this moment, all the sails were erected, and then sailed in the direction of the wind towards the Yuan zone. A pair of monks and men are standing on the bow of the ship. The men are young and elegant, and they are handsome in appearance, especially the farewell youth, showing the momentum of some mature men, seeing the boatmen and women shaking their hearts. And that woman is even more beautiful than anything, especially her beauty with maturity with plumpness, and that tall and erect breast is perfect. But the two were not a pair. And, you will be in Yuan zone in a few days. Don't worry, the boat is slower, but the flight is also exhausted. The man stood at the bow of the boat and let the wind caress the big sleeves. Called Ant with little beauty, the woman laughed, I have seen my 2 apprentices for 10 years, and I will meet soon. How can I not be in a hurry, she asked, Junfan, do you not want to see you, buddy? You have been missing for 16 or 7 years. This man is Cao Junfan. When he heard Cao Most talk about Yekong, he remembered the friendship at that time, and immediately laughed, of course I also want to see the boy, but he also had Dan, but it was before me. The smile on Cao Junfan's face suddenly disappeared, and some smartness flashed in his eyes. I thought I had a good qualification and the fastest repair, I don't believe it. Why is he a 5-element hybrid spirit faster than me? It took another 5 years after the budding to cultivate to the 2nd floor of the budding. I'd like to see what he is now. After Cao Junfan finished speaking, he slammed on the ship's railing with his hand. Cao Muse was a little surprised by Cao Junfan's attitude. She retracted her eyes and looked at the distant sea. Mei Mei looked at Cao Junfan. Then she learned, Junfan, your peers disagree with each other and compare each other. You chase me. Strive to reach the upper reaches. These ants understand and think it's a good thing, but do nt forget, you and Yekong are friends for many years and have deep friendship and affection. Cao Junfan laughed, as if he had changed back to another person. He laughed, and, the relationship between the boy and me still uses you to say, when he caused trouble, brothers did not hesitate to stand beside him. Cao Muse's face was a little sloppy nodded, oh, that's good. Although she believed Cao Junfan, she was still a little upset, especially the fierce look Cao Junfan had just inadvertently revealed. But think about it, Cao Muse still felt that he was more attentive. Although Cao Junfan has good qualifications, his personality has been relatively soft since he was young, and there should be nothing excessive. In Cao Muse's heart, he thought secretly that the distant sky behind the ship quickly chased a light. That Woguang was getting closer and bigger, and it was only a short while ago that it was found to be a flying boat, no less than a wooden boat. Boom, the flying boat was extremely fast and brought a lot of airflow. When the black curved bottom passed over the sailboat, it made a huge airflow sound. The flying boat swept over the sailboat and flew straight to the distance. Strangely enough, the flying boat turned out to be a beautiful flick, drawing an arc in the sky and flying towards the sailing boat. Below are Yunfuzong Cao family friends. A pair of middle-aged adolescents in checkered robes came out of Fiashu. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 890. Cao Muse and Cao Junfan did not know the two people standing on the Fiashu, but from their clothes, they should be disciples of the Seven Stars sect, and the pair of men and women were all trained in the period of Keaton. They should be the disciples of the Seven Stars section. Although he didn't know each other, he knew Cao Muse. The Kixing Zongnanjiu laughed. Cao Daiu must not be confused. It is the Seven Star sect Li Guanhua. This is the next comrade Chen Shuman. 10 years ago, the Highgate meeting, and the Sunyi sect master Ye Yekan went to Yunfuzong. At that time, I also received a warm welcome from Cao Guangzhen, the head of Gazong. If someone Ye knows to be ridiculous, not bragging about drafts, is that welcome? When Li Guanhua said this, Cao Mose immediately laughed. Although she didn't know each other, she said that it was related. Cao Mose laughed. It turned out that Li Guanhua was a friend of mine. I don't know how to stop us. With a smile, Cao Muxi smiled. Her lips were red and her teeth were white, as if the same peach blossom was open. The charm of Chinzi was fully shown, and Li Guanhua was asleep. Men are all virtuous. Chen Shuman gave Li Guanhua an angry look, and this guy was sober from shock. Don't dare to see a teacher. Li Guanhua waved his hands and said, just because I was in Gazong 10 years ago, I have seen Yezongju call you master. Presumably the two went to Yuan Zone to find Yezongju. They just happened to go by the way. I was looking for Lord Ye, so I wanted to invite the two to the flying boat and go to Yuan together. It is much faster to take a flying boat than to take a big boat, and Li Guanhua made it clear that he didn't want bad people. Cao Muse and Cao Junfan took a look at the boat and there was nothing suspicious. So Cao Muse gave the boatman some silver and 2 dozens, and then came to the boat and followed Li Guanhua to a quiet room on the boat. Li Guanhua laughed. Muse's friends live here, Junfan's friends live opposite. The two rest assured that they should be able to arrive at the Yuan sect tomorrow morning. Seeing Cao Muse still uncomfortable, Li Guanhua smiled again. Muso Daiu should be suspicious. You are Master Yezongju, that is my master Li Guanhua. There will be no intentions, and this the quiet room, which Yezongju lived in at the beginning. Rest assured, absolutely rest assured. Cao Muse nodded and smiled. Thank you, Li Daiu. Cao Muse went into the quiet room, and Cao Junfan suddenly became displeased. He also walked into the quiet room and closed the door with his backhand. Then he was depressed. That kid is doing well, now he's playing his banner outside. Okay, what a great thing it is to know him. Lord Ye. At this moment another voice in the quiet room sounded. It doesn't matter, as long as you work hard to cultivate a few techniques I gave you, don't worry about not defeating him one day. Cao Junfan nodded. Yeah, I have such a good qualification. Since I was a kid, I have cultivated a genius. I don't believe I can't beat him. The voice said again in a very seductive voice, we will not only defeat him, but also kill him and take the chance of the destiny. What destiny? Cao Junfan wondered. The voice laughed. In short, it is an opportunity to get great power. Become a great man. Just kill the kid. Unexpectedly, Cao Junfan shook his head and said, no, I don't want any power, and I don't want to kill him. I just want to prove that I am better than him, stronger than him. In addition, we are still friends. The voice was a little depressing, but still advised, what proof is not proved, as long as you kill him, it is the best proof. Cao Junfan said angrily, don't tell me. I won't listen to you. I don't want to be a Kangnan overlord, I can prove stronger than him. There was a depression in the bronze face. How did you find this guy? He sighed and stopped speaking. At the same time, Chen Shuman outside said, your men are of this virtue. You let them go on the boat, afraid to see the Mosi Taoist. Li Guanhua yelled, do you think I'm as brainless as you? Even if the muses are friendly, do I dare to provoke them? The name Ye is not an easygoing generation. I am better than that Yekong. We are asking Yekong this time, and even if he doesn't want to help, there is no harm in getting in touch with him. Chen Shuman was feeling better now. He turned around for a moment, glanced at Li Guanhua, and cursed, you are busy with your flying sword magic weapon. Li Guanhua sighed, the flying sword magic weapon is very important. You didn't see Yekong relying on 2 flying swords at that time, you could get 6 strikes in the leapfrog battle? If I were completely made of the sapphire cold frost sword, although it is not as good as the leaves, the flying sword of the empty level can also greatly enhance my strength. Chen Shuman said, the magic weapon is important, but I am not important. Li Guanhua suddenly understood why the beauty was angry. He smiled and said, of course it is important. For my husband, we have recently developed a double cultivation method. Let's practice it, haha. At this moment, Cao Muse was sitting indoors, sitting cross-legged on the symbol pad, and thinking in her heart, I only received a note at the beginning, saying that Xianxia's victory had been completed, and I didn't know the specific situation. Now 10 years have passed, I don't know her what kind of cultivation is, and martial arts, which often makes the little temperament, that Yekong is a non-human nature, and I don't know how they get along. In the past 10 years, Cao Muse hasn't experienced much growth. After all, in the late Jadan period, it is not easy to get to the next level. In her spare time, she will miss the 2 apprentices. She sighed, and suddenly thought to herself, Li Guanhua said earlier that Yekong had lived here. Actually, some ideas are very mysterious. Just like this quiet room, even if Yekong lived there, it would be more than 10 years, what traces will be left behind? However, Cao Mose's heart suddenly gave birth to a lingering thought, but she couldn't help but emerge. On that night, the spell in the sky opened like a firework, and on the calm and dark sea, a teenager lay on her plump body. Kissed her lips remorselessly, held the highest point of her body with a big hand, and squeezed her fingertips slightly. Cao Muse's pink face opened like a peach blossom, and it was hot as it was burnt, and she couldn't help but yell, it's a shame to think of what you've done. It's not my fault, it's the moon's trouble, nonsense, I'm so ashamed to say it. Fears who people and other people have their own thoughts, and at this moment yes, someone has just left the customs. 10 years outside, 100 years have passed in the Mustard Time Tower. 100 years, this is not a small time, not only Yekong, the women in the pipa beads, that cultivation is also a rapid rise, it is not good not to rise. Although cultivation in the Mustard Time Tower is very cheap, if you do anti-practice, you will lose money, which basically belongs to suicide. Why? Needless to say, human life is fixed. If you do not elevate the realm, mortals will not live for more than 100 years. In the Mustard Time Tower, it is 100 years. Therefore, if not everyone has built the foundation, otherwise they will all hang up. Look at everyone's realm. Chen Juniang has the slowest degree of practice. She came to the 8th floor of Zuji after 100 years, but she can already have 300 years of life. The rest of the day is Dan, and it is more than enough to enjoy a life of 600 years. Lu Qin and Xiao Hong are about to take a step forward. At this point, the foundation has been successfully completed. In fact, they can have Dan for a long time, but thinking that it will take too long to get Dan, they have ended up and have been abandoned year. Sister Feng Xiniang arrived at Zuji Grand in the last year of the century, and she also did not end it because her daughter had not been brought in and she had not seen it for a century. She really wanted her daughter. Baijier was thinking of going to the fairyland to sell the inner show, so she took Jindan pill directly and closed the knot when she arrived at Zuji. Similarly, Huang Zixuan also entered into Dan, and the little girl also closed her. The fastest one is Huang Quan's ancestor, who has successfully established the Dan, all of which have been on the second floor. Another one that is also fast is Zhang Wuyi, who just made a successful Dan. In fact, she can be faster, but she spends a lot of time refining her instruments, so Chen Juniang, Lu Qin, and Xiao Hong have two top-quality artifacts, which are all due to Comrade Wu Yi. However, Zhang Wuyi was also very depressed, because each one was about to end up with a dandelion, and everyone would have magic weapons. The chance of using the magic weapon is too small. In the end, the female monks who painted the sounds of the demon sect, some of them have already had a bud, and others have failed to eat, and they eat a jindanwan to continue to bear a bud. In fact, everyone cultivates quickly, and there is another reason, that is, the base of the blood Dan Mozong provided by Yekong and Jindanwan are basically one-time success. Even if it does NT work, eating another one will become it. In short, with Yekong, a big boss, you can do more with less. Of course, after talking about everyone, now let us talk about someone's cultivation behavior. Why finally say that Yekongjai is very dissatisfied with his cultivation behavior. 100 years of retreat also reached the 8th level of Dandan. In fact, according to the practice of the 5 elements of the Ascension of the Immortal Sutra, he is already fast. However, Yekong still feels slow. If he is taking risks and looking for adventures, he can definitely become a baby in 100 years. But having said that, there is no mustard time tower outside, it is 100 years inside and 10 years outside. When Yekong appears, it will rise to 8 levels in 10 years. This is the Dandan period. Not gas refining period. The 10-year period of the Dandan period has risen to 8 levels, which can already scare people. Yekong didn't actually think of it in the time tower, he was going to come out after he simply turned the baby. But it's not working. Chen Juniang is quitting. The old lady wants her grandchildren. At first, everyone had to cultivate, and did NT bring the children into the pipa beads. Chen Juniang missed her grandson, Lu Qin wanted her son, Feng Xiniang wanted her daughter, these three have already worked. Even with Xiaohong, Zhang Wuyi is not good at training anymore. Ye had to agree and go out first. The crowd went out, but Baijier and they were still in shock. So Yekong released his mother and others, and sent the pipa beads to the mustard time tower, so. Buddy has given money, and it has been contracted for 100 years. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 891. Finally, I want to talk about the pipa bead space. With the improvement of Yekong's realm, the pipa bead space has also expanded to a square acre. Chiu Qiaobang, who has become a film, has been comfortable for 2 days, but it is also short-term. Fast, can't keep up with it, and don't know what it will look like in the end. However, as the space becomes larger, Yekong can also see that the ground in this space still has a shallow arc. It seems that this is really a planet. This leaves Yekong a little bit lamented. If the space is completely opened, really it is a planet, isn't it a creation god? It's a level with Pangu, which opens up the world. After Yekong's level was improved, many pages of the middle and lower grade spells were opened in the curse book. The lower and middle grade spells were mainly used to make spells of the magic type. The actual effect is to use magic. The power of the weapon or magic weapon is refined into the spell, while the middle-ranking intermediate ranks are basically arrays. They are not the same as the lower-ranking spiritual training arrays. The middle-ranking arrays are very powerful, and they can combine various arrays. Refining enters. When used, as long as it is activated with spiritual power, a powerful array will be issued in the blink of time. In fact, the matrix is still quite powerful, but Yekong has come to the Kangnan continent. The game of combat has not been very proficient. At present, it is only a simple matrix such as spiritual training. If he wants to, it's impossible to study the formations, so he had to give up temporarily. However, he is also curious about the magic of the upper grade of the middle grade. The lower grade of the middle grade is to compress the magic power into the spell. The medium grade is to compress the power of the formation into the spell. What about spells? Yekong sent the Pipa beads into the time tower, and took out the token of the black demon, and when he thought, he appeared in the black cabin of the black demon. Honorary Elder and Disciple, number 9257, welcome back to the Black Demon Sect, here. When she came to the Black Demon Sect, Yunqian's nice voice sounded and she changed her name to Yet. But it looks like he doesn't have a cold. A disciple and an elder, what the hell, someone snorted, and asked, any message? No. Then my deposit can change. Yes, as a temporary elder, you worship 100,000 spirit stones every year, and add 1 million spirit stones in 10 years. Good treatment, Yekong nodded. But listening to Yunqian saying, your expenditure is 100,000 spirit stones per year, and 1 million in 10 years. It is taken away by the elder on the 17th. Yekong was furious. This old boy hasn't done any fart matters, remember to detain Lingxi, but didn't send a message to Laozi for 10 years, but he took away 1 million. Yekong took 2 steps back and forth and said, send me a message to the 17th and ask him what is going on. Coincidentally, the 17th happened to be right away, and immediately returned the message saying that the task of finding Huang Shishi had not been cancelled, and the Mozong in the market did not give up searching. Of course, the other 17th of the Lingling stone was said again, and now it is slightly frowning. Would you like to cancel the task? I said that his ancestors were stubborn. I paid for it when I didn't have an eyebrow. Now that I have an eyebrow, I still cancel my hair. Yekong didn't care about the spirit stone and waved his hand. Let him keep checking. Yeah, plus one more thing, Lingxi can be as much as you need, and you must quickly find Huang Shishi for me. I can't bear her to be a construction worker for 50 years. When Yunqian sent a message to the 17th, Yekong asked again, there is no other information. The disciple number 8726 has no information. Number 8726 is Pan Dongzheng, the demon of the Dharma section. Yekong is still waiting for him to go to the 5 Elements Fairy House. If Yekong is alone, it is too weak, and Yekong Lian I do nt know how to get there. Seeing that there are still 7 or 8 years before the opening of the government, Pan Dong should have a message if he is interested. But unfortunately, there is no news at all. Yekong can only sigh. There is no way to fix it. People do nt look at it. However, since they do nt want to bring it, Yekong can't send a message to ask in the past. In fact, Yekong is still in his heart. A bit arrogant. Out of the Black Demon sect, Yekong teleported directly to the city of Kangbei Fantasyland. 10 years later, the deities of Zulingfei should also be released. When Yekong came to the city of Fantasy, Zulingfei was chatting with Ling Ziqiu. It can be seen that these years, they have got along well. Long time no see, Zulingfei saw Yekong is actually a little bit embarrassed. Ling Ziqiu giggled in Zulingfei's ear and uttered a few words, then pushed Zulingfei over, and then she left first. Congratulations to the Master's realm of great improvement. Zulingfei saw Yekong's realm of 8 levels elevated, and was a bit surprised. This degree of practice, even those magical repairs of Yunyeo, is beyond the reach of others. Oh, I want to congratulate you on your success. Yekong nodded and sat down on the chair. After sending a cup of spiritual tea, Zhu Lingfei said, "That's not the owner's blessing. If I hadn't come to Kangnan to meet Sister Ziqiu, how could I have such a quickening god? It would cost me just to transform myself. Hundreds of years." Yekong nodded and asked, "When did you get out?" 2 years ago, Zhu Lingfei bowed her head and said that at this moment she did not transform the pride of the gods, but she was as charming as a little daughter-in-law. "Well, it's too early if I leave the gate early," Yekong nodded again, and said, "What is your enchantment?" "If you look at it," Zhu Lingfei raised his hand, and flexed his hands with a formula, then stretched his arms as if to stretch something away. Suddenly, Yekong felt that he had reached a green hill. He was sitting on a green cow stone on the top of the mountain. It was lined with trees and grass, and a large river in the distance crossed the mountain gorge. An egret with ink painting, flying around. Yekongdeo, it was the same as the enchantment of Lichanai, but also the enchantment of ink painting. At this time, Zhu Lingfei's voice came, "Master, her enchantment, which is different, is dominated by painting and poetry, and I am purely dominated by painting. In this space, I paint whatever I want." Zhu Lingfei's voice became louder. Yekong suddenly felt a bad feeling, and he was busy. "Lingfei, okay, I know, you let me out." Yekong felt that something was wrong. He didn't bring the pipa beads, and even the paintings of Zhu Lingfei remained in the pipa beads. At this moment, if Zhu Lingfei wanted to be against him, he had no means to suppress it. The laughter of Zhu Lingfei echoed throughout the enchantment, arrogant and raging. "Ha ha, master, do you still want to run away? In my enchantment, I am the master, I have the final say, everything has to listen to what I draw, what it is, and this is the power of." Yekong was annoyed. "Zhu Lingfei, what are you doing? Could you betray me?" Yekong has already taken out the token of the Black Demon section. If Zhu Lingfei really has any action, he will only have to go back to the Black Demon sect before speaking, but Zhu Lingfei's next words will give him some peace of mind. Zhu Lingfei said, "Betray you? I don't want to say that. I know I can't kill you at all. Even if I kill you, my identity is not guaranteed, and I don't have to share everything with you, let's say." Zhu Lingfei leisurely said, "Moreover, you are still my first and last man." "Then what do you mean?" Yekong was baffled by her. At this moment Zhu Lingfei's voice was sharp, saying, "When you say to me, 'How do I treat you?'" As soon as her voice was finished, several vine-like tentacles were immediately drilled on the grass next to Yekong. The tentacles were as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, Yekong's hands and feet were bound. Then, the tentacles shrank and stretched, and several tentacles were quickly pulled open, bind Yekong to Qingyu stone in a big shape. Then, there was also movement on the smooth green bull stone. Yekong's neck and limbs were extended with black shackles. He clicked and fixed Yekong on the green bull stone. At this moment, the egret hovering over the river just came and stopped beside Yekong, howling and yelling at Yekong's clothes with his pointed long mouth. Yekong was furious and shouted, "Zhu Lingfei, what are you doing? You strong me once, I want to strong you once." Although Yekong and Zhu Lingfei did not know how many times the relationship had taken place, and Zhu Lingfei did not take his last name, but this situation still annoyed Yekong and lost his freedom. He was forced by the woman to pass X how to be human. Even if you do NT pass it out, how do you face Zhu Lingfei in the future? If you do this again, I will fight back. Yekong watched his clothes getting worse, opened his mouth and spit out two magic flying swords. Fijian hovered, and scattered several egrets around them. These egrets are all ghosts. With a single blow, they turned into fine lights and shadows. The useless monk of the Dandan period wants to show his prestige in the realm of the monarch, Zhu Lingfei snorted coldly. Then, Yekong saw the picture that stunned him. I saw behind the mountain, there were tens of thousands of egrets, all white, I don't know how many. No matter how powerful the flying sword is, it can't kill so much, and those egrets don't care about life and death. What they ask is just to take away Yekong's piece of clothing. After a while Yekong has not covered his body. Zhu Lingfei, I will do this again, you will die, Yekong shouted. However, such a threat, Zhu Lingfei is indifferent. Death is dead. It is worth the death to pay this time. Rather than dying, I also want to make myself strong once. When I meet this lord, Yekong is also ruthless, and the surname stops to resist. He said, forget it, Zhu Lingfei, I used to be strong against you once, let alone. It's as if I paid it back to you, but after this time, you and I have no grudges, I don't kill you, and when I will go back, I will return your painting to you. In fact, Yekong said what he meant. If Zhu Lingfei succeeded, he would not be able to face this woman. But Zhu Lingfei's purpose is not to kill him, and the two have had so many relationships. Yekong also as for the ruthless hand that destroyed Zhu Lingfei's ontology painting. Unexpectedly, Yekong gave up the resistance, Zhu Lingfei stopped the attack. Can't do it for me, you don't want to be irresponsible Q. Registered members can get private bookshelves more convenient. Permanent address. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator author, Xianxia. Chapter 892. After listening to Yekong's words, Zhu Lingfei waved back those egrets, fluttered in shape, stood beside Yekong, flushed and turned angry. No. I'm lost to you, but you want to be irresponsible and leave? No, absolutely not. Yekong was still clasped, lying on Xianxia, and sighed, what about you? If I were as embarrassed as you are, how can I face someone and face you? I am a man. Zhu Lingfei said, the importance of a man's face. Crap. Come out and mix, face is more important than life. In fact, Zhu Lingfei didn't think that much, just wanted a little revenge, but I didn't expect that it was more important than death. Listening to Yekong's comment, she also felt as if she was a bit out of place. In fact, she had long recognized that Yekong was his own man, and it was not a good choice for her to lose her face. But that's it, she wants to give up. Why do you force me on me? But I can't do this to you, Zhu Lingfei stomped angrily. Yekong sighed, don't blame it. In fact, the world is unfair. The most basic injustice is that I am a man and you are a woman. Well, even if you succeed, you are stronger than me. But you think again. Even then, at best, it can only be regarded as your initiative. In fact, it is you who have been X. Do you understand? After listening to Zhu Lingfei, he sighed resentfully, sitting next to Xianxia, and waved away the bindings on Yekong's hands and feet. Then he sighed, I see. Being a woman is always passive. Yekong shook his hands and said, I understand that you have always been resentful of that incident, but if you think about the situation at the time, I can only do this. Well, let me be sorry for you, just let you be on top, it's my compensation. On top, Zhu Lingfei didn't understand. It's the females and the males. Yekong was depressed. Do you want to? Don't let me out, there are still many things in my case. Zhu Ling was furious, yes. Of course. After that, she pushed Yekong down on Xianxia's stone, stripped Yekong's ragged clothes, kissed Yekong's chest like a kitten, and untied Yekong's belt. After doing it for a long time, when she really straddled Ye on an empty stomach, she couldn't help sighing, it's so hard, how can I feel that I'm not you, but I'm waiting for you. Yekong laughed, twisted, and pressed her down, and said, do you still have resentment? Treat me as if I was waiting for you. Zhu Lingfei's two sloppy arms were hung from Yekong's neck, and he breathed a comfortable sigh, sighing, "Looks like I'll take my fate, I still like to be down there and let you wait." Celestial symphony of music immediately sounded in the enchantment. When the two were done, they were lying on the Qingyu stone. Yekong asked Zhu Lingfei about his plans. In fact, Yekong wanted Zhu Lingfei to accompany Ling Ziqiu. But Zhu Lingfei said, "No, it's not me who is with her, it is she who is with me. Don't look at her saying nothing, but I know that she also wants to cultivate and go to the fairy world and reunion with Kuangpeng earlier. I am here, this is delaying her." Yekong actually wanted to take Ling Ziqiu to Pipazhu, and also took advantage of the Mustard Time Tower. But Ling Ziqiu also said before that she couldn't put down the people and beasts who were addicted to the illusion on the ancient tree. Yekong nodded. "Then you go back with me. Taking your cultivation as the first person in Kangnan, you can also support the mixed UN zone scene." Everyone in the mixed UN zone was retreating. Yekong wanted Zhu Lingfei to manage the house. Anyway, she also had a hobby of managing people. Talking to Zhu Lingfei, she readily agreed, and laughed at herself. "I did not expect that I did not become the master of picture and sound demon, but went to Kangnan to become the master of mixed monarch." "Hey, don't hesitate, the Lord is here," Yekong snorted, "but I have to give you 3 chapters of the law." "You said." Zhu Lingfei turned his face, facing Yekong. "First, during the management of the mixed UN zone, everything is based on the interests of the mixed UN zone. Second, if the interests of the mixed UN zone conflict with my interests are the most important. Third, if there are any special circumstances, refer to Article 2. "Okay." Zhu Lingfei nodded and smiled. "Actually, it's okay if you don't say it. I don't always turn my arms out." The two of them remained warm for a while before finishing their clothes and leaving the fantasy city. Yekong mentioned again about leaving Kangbei, but Ling Ziqiu was still reluctant. Yekong no longer reluctantly, and left with Zhu Lingfei. When he left, Yekong found himself doing something stupid. Why not take Zhu Ling to fly back without the pipa beads? The transmission service of the Black Demon is not easy to bring people. However, because of this matter, Yekong thought of the black token of Kuangpeng again. At that time, Kuangpeng soared quickly without asking him about the token. It seemed that he was free to arrange Kuangpeng's relics. Yekong returned to the Mustard Time Tower, took the pipa beads, and installed Zhu Lingfei, and then returned to the mixed UN zone through the transmission service of the Black Demon. At the mixed UN zone, Zhu Lingfei told him something that surprised him a little. "Do you know? Sister Ziqiu has children, which is the main reason why she does not want to leave Kangbei." "Ah," Yekong froze and asked, "why wouldn't she tell me this great wedding?" Zhu Lingfei sighed, "Because, the child, doesn't look good, she doesn't want to take it out." Yekong stunned, "Not good? How bad?" "Anyway, it's not good looking. Kuangpen's predecessor is Dapen bird, Sister Ziqiu's body is clam, and the combination of these two, do you think the child can look good?" Zhu Lingfei gave him a glance. Oh, Yekong Xiao smiled and sighed. "In fact, it's not that important. Everyone is a monster. They don't even wear clothes before they are transformed. Anything looks good and I don't hate her child. She is ready. When will it be concealed?" Zhu Lingfei said. Sister Ziqiu said, "I can only know this by myself, and I will tell you when her son becomes a * person." Yekong fainted. "Why do you tell me now?" Zhu Lingfei was embarrassed. "I don't know why, I just can't help telling you." Yekong could not help but sigh. No wonder the Shakespeare ancestors have said that it is very difficult for women to keep secrets. Zhu Lingfei immediately despised. There is nothing to say about the words of the ancestor. Yekong smiled and didn't tell her much, took her down the high stairs of the mixed UN hall, walked to her cave house, and as soon as she entered the door, she saw Fuyujia, the real person in charge. Fuyujia really fainted today. He saw too many incredible cultivations for promotion. Like Yekong's elder mother and others, when they first came to the mixed UN zone, they also came out to see it. At that time, there was only one mortal. After 10 years of retreat, all of them were higher than him. Is this too fast? There is also the Zhonghui, which was originally the 7th floor of Zuji, and now jumps to the 2nd floor of Jindan. The most depressing is the young man named Chen Baixuan, who had just built the foundation when he came to the Yuan section. He hadn't seen it for 10 years. But when he saw Yekong, he was even more aphasia. He had risen 8 levels in 10 years, oh my god, he is the ancestor of Dandan. Can the Dandan period rise so fast? Of course, the most bizarre thing is that Yezongja brought back a beautiful woman. When introduced, Fuyujia knew that this woman named Zhu Lingfei was already a monk, Niu, so Niu. The only monk in Kangnan. Fuyujia couldn't help but sigh, the mixed UN zone daxing, the mixed UN zone daxing. Next, Yekong also saw his pair of children, both 15 years old. Because Yekong didn't come out, no one dared to let them learn the exercises, so these two troublemakers made the mixed UN zone up and down. It was a chicken flying dog, and it was like two little devil heads. Yekong had people call the two little ghosts and let them reach out. Upon inspection, Lingan was all right. The son Yexiaozhang is the root of the soul, and just as he inherited his father's business, he can practice the 5 elements Ascension Sutra. The daughter Yeili is a rare double root of ice and fire. It is also the best candidate for the mixed UN zone Gong method. This mixed UN zone method was originally left by the 5 elements and it should be a good method. Yekong just thought about it, but now the two children are secretly fighting again, and their fists are beating. The women around were ridiculing, Yekong angered, Yeziao. Dad is talking above, what are you doing? Watch out for me. Yekong's tone was almost the same as Dao's, and the women laughed again, and Yeziao's head was even bolder, and he even made a face at Yekong. Yekong was furious and shouted, does your boy think that I really mean to you? When your father was in Nandu City, he was sensible at the age of 12, and you were so noisy when he was 15. Looking at Yekong's fire, Yexiaozhen didn't dare to say anything, but Chen Juniang came out and said I haven't seen each other for 10 years, what did I say to my child? Here, granddaughter, come to grandma. The old lady talked, Yekong's discipline couldn't go on anymore, only to stare at his son, go back and hit you. Then, Yekong introduced Zhu Lingfei to everyone again. He was also worried that Zhu Lingfei was not getting along well with everyone. Who knew that this woman was very good, and she soon confused Chen Juniang. Of course, Chen Juniang is happy. She doesn't think she has too many children. She is so high in Zhu Lingfei. Chen Juniang is also happy with her. In this way, Yekong was not afraid that she might have a bad relationship, but she was afraid that she would become a gang, so she added another chapter in the 3rd chapter of the law, uniting sisters, not being jealous of class, and robbing class and power. In fact, there are more wives, and vinegar and sea waves are inevitable, but as long as it is not too much, Yekong is fine. And everybody is a monk, and they are all retreat if they are fine. After everyone went out of customs, although it was only 10 years, it was 100 years for them. Especially Chen Juniang, she remembered the Ye family's old house in the southern capital, as well as some living family members of her Chen family. Lu Qin also remembered her 2 elder brothers, so together they decided to return home. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 893. Yekong didn't want to go. After all, there was a delay of 1 year. The mustard time tower was 10 years. The journey to the south was a long way. He didn't remember the coordinates there. Once he went, it would be gone for half a year. But thinking about it, I will go out and practice after building the foundation. All of them have built a great foundation, so they can go through some practice. After all, they have been in retreat for 100 years, so they have to relax and find materials for their future magic weapon. As for safety, there is no need to worry. There is Zhu Lingfei, the first person in Kangnan to go out, and even a few major monks can easily cook, not to mention that now, which high door must not give him Yekan 3 points of face. On this day, all the women are ready to stop, Ying Ying Yan Yan, flowers and branches show off, each one has its own appearance, and there is a great landscape everywhere. Women going out are different from men. They think of everything and have to bring everything. Each storage bag is full. Just then, someone visited. Ye Kong was watching Li Haoshan's message to him in the quiet room. The note is about the bronze face. He frowned and wondered, what was this face? Did he trick him? Why are you staring at yourself? He wasn't afraid of this face, but he was surrounded by too many people, who might be tempted to do something that shouldn't be done, which would make Ye Kong very difficult. The most important thing now is to find a solution to this problem. Where to look is the key. Ye Kong thought, since this thing is from the 5 elements Xianfu, there must be a way in the 5 elements Xianfu. It seems that the 5 elements Xianfu after a few years must go. Thinking about it, suddenly he raised a brow and sensed something. Then a golden light came, Ye Kong raised his hand and picked it up, and glanced into it. He knew that there was a joy in his face. Master and Junfen are here. It's great. Ye Kong raised his hand and passed on Zhang Wei a note. Then he waved his sleeves and got out of the quiet room. In the mixed temple, the real person in charge, Fu Yujia, accompanied 4 guests. On the left is Yun Fuzong Cao Muse and Cao Junfen, and on the right is Kixing Zong Li Guanhua and Chen Shuman. Fu Yujia laughed, it's really time for your seniors to come. Ye Zongju has been in retreat for 10 years, and it has been a few days since he was out. If it was earlier, he wouldn't have encountered it. Li Guanhua laughed, I Kixing Zong pays attention to fate, and it seems that I and Lord Zong are also destined. Fu Yujia is also the old head. After listening to his active relationship, he guessed that this guy was afraid of asking. So he asked, predecessor Li Guanhua, dare to ask if there is anything wrong with Lord yet? Li Guanhua was a little unhappy. Don't ask them, ask me if you're okay, do you look down on me? He snorted and said, of course there is something, and it is very important. It is not only good for you, but also good for you, Lord Yet. After Li Guanhua finished speaking, he rolled his eyes and looked at the roof. Fu Yujia is not the little head of the day, the mixed Yuan zone has a high status, his status is also high, and he thought, I ask if the intention is not okay? The two did not speak, and the atmosphere in the temple was a little frozen. Cao Muse looked at them like this, and smiled and interrupted, Fu Genren, dare to ask Ye Kong this time, how many layers did he break through? Fu Yujia hurriedly returned to the ceremony and said, return to the ancestor, Lord Zone this time. Fu Yujia didn't say anything, but was interrupted by one person. Cao Junfen said, how many more levels? The Dan period, not those low-level monks, general qualifications, it is good to improve 1 level in 10 years, even if the qualifications are excellent, it is only 5 years to improve 1 level. It's already the fastest, I guess brother Ye is like me at best, it's only on the 2nd floor. Speaking of which, Cao Junfen still has 3 points. I had Dandan 5 years ago and spent another 5 years improving it, and I was already the fastest. Although Ye Kong has always been quite good, it's because he has enough magic weapons, enough means, and fierce human beings, but if he says cultivation, he is not as good as me. Although Cao Junfen said this, it was uncomfortable to listen to, but Cao Muse had to admit that this was a good thing. Indeed, when a monk reaches the period of dendrite, it is not the same. Even if you are the spiritual route, after the Buddha is not a smooth journey. There is always a saying in Xianxian realm. The advantage of Tianlingen is that before the end of Dan, there will be no bottleneck. On the other hand, after Ling Dan, Tianlingen also has a bottleneck. So in this way, what Cao Junfan said is still true. Yekong's complex roots can break through a layer in 10 years, which is quite good. Cao Muse wanted to nod, but Yu Guang suddenly saw the abnormal smile on Fuyojia's face. Cao Muse moved in his heart and asked, Fu Genren, could Yekong have been raised 2 levels? 2 floors? The 2 layers are a hair promotion, and speaking out scares you. Fuyojia was interrupted by Cao Junfan before, and now I don't want to say it anymore, and laughed. Yazongju's cultivation is really not to be done by ordinary people. It's hard to say. The 4 people in the audience all had the same speculation. I'm afraid that someone hasn't improved 1 level in 10 years? Same guess, but different idea. What Li Guanhua thinks is that this boy Xiu has not been promoted, and I don't know if it can be done in retrospect. His acolytes thought, this boy is not as good as our family. And Cao Junfan was so refreshed that he had to be ashamed of this kid. Only Cao Mose was more realistic. She thought that Yekong hadn't improved for 10 years. I was afraid it was uncomfortable. I waited at the right time to comfort him and relieve him. After all, I hadn't improved for 10 years. While talking, he yelled outside, Cao Junfan. Why is your kid here? When everyone heard this voice, they knew that a hooligan had come. Cao Junfan also replied to his original temperament, regardless of etiquette, and shouted to the outside, Yeziazi, you don't recognize your brother after you become the Lord, do you? You should order the entire ancestral nun to greet you. You are dreaming. I did not enjoy this treatment when I went to Yunfuzang. Yekong's voice did not fall, and he entered with a brace. Cao Mose couldn't help laughing, and whispered to himself, how many years have you been a master to walk like a rogue on the street? Cao Junfan has rushed forward and sent a warm bear hug. Although he has been brainwashed by bronze faces in the past 5 years, his friendship with Yekong is indeed deep and cannot be completely changed in 3 days or 2 days. There Li Guanhua and her mate Chen Shuman hurried to stand up, saluting Yekong. The hall was lively, and everyone forgot to see Yekong's cultivation for a while. Of course, I also remembered it. Chen Shuman is the busiest among several people. I thought that in Wanjia City, she had just got Dan, and Yekong had just got Dan. After 10 years, she has not been promoted, so she also hopes that others will be like her. She was the first to take a look at Yekong with Tianyi Angshu, and suddenly she was frightened. Your cultivation. Seeing her ghost-like expression, everyone turned around and looked at Yekong with celestial eyes. Everyone seemed to see a ghost. 8 floors. 10 years to 8 floors. 1.5 years a year on average. God, are you still human? Wouldn't you be a monster? It looks like the monster is not so fast. Looking at everyone with this expression, Yekong was depressed for a while. Not only was he displeased, but he was still out of breath. How? So soon? It's slowly dying. My qualifications are really bad. Everyone fainted again. Listen, are you talking about people? Isn't it disgusting to us? The qualifications that have been promoted to 8 levels in 10 years are not good, then our qualifications are simply not qualifications. Cao Junfan laughed suddenly and gave Yekong a fist. Your boy, you still love face so much and love playing treasure, and said, did you take any temporary elixir? Oh. Everyone retracted their chins, and said, it was like this. The Xianxian realm has not only the medicine that suppresses Xiaowei, but also the medicine that promotes Xiaowei. However, these elixir drugs have changed the surface state, that is, the true strength has not decreased or increased. It is just that when others use astronomy to look at it, they can't really repair it. So it is Cao Mose could not help but nodded. It seems that this is indeed the case. Otherwise, it would be completely impossible to upgrade 8 levels in 10 years. She went on to say, Yekong, don't take those medicines too much, it's bad for your health. Yekong was stunned. I listened to Cao Junfan and said, yeah, it's bad for your body, in order to impersonate a big-tailed wolf, it's not worth it. It can last for a long time with the practice of taking elixir. Yekong didn't want to say it anymore. If you don't believe it, you will know it later. However, Zhang Huiyi who came in later surprised them. Master, Zhang Huiyi walked to the entrance of the hall, his eyes were already wet. It's not that Zhang Huiyi loves to cry. The key is that she spent 100 years in the Pipa beads, which is equivalent to mortals for more than a lifetime. Seeing the dear master, why not be excited? When Cao Muse pulled down and took Zhang Huiyi to sit down, this is only now, Wu Yi, you have gotten Dan, it's been decades since most people have gotten Dan. I couldn't help blurting and asked, how many years have you spent in customs to get out of customs? How fast? Zhang Huiyi replied, 60 years. She said that she knew something wrong, and changed her mind again, 6 years. This time, Cao Junfan fainted. He succeeded in retiring 11 years after the retreat, which is already the genius among geniuses. Who knows that it only takes 6 years? Zhang Huiyi's spiritual root is far inferior to him, which is incredible. It's not easy to have Dan for 6 years. Li Guanhua and others looked at Zhang Huiyi in surprise. Everyone is not sure, but someone is very clear. A sense of consciousness in Cao Junfan's body began to mutter, is it possible that he has entered the Mustard Time Tower to practice? Is this kid already connected to the 5 Elements Fairy House? No, if Jibo is made aware that this kid is a man of heaven, basically nothing is going on, hurry up, just kill him a little faster. Cao Muse was also surprised at the fact that Zhang Huiyi had ended up with Dan for 6 years, but she thought that it might be that the superb Jindan pill brought back from Kangbei by Yekong worked. She looked outside the main hall and asked, where is Zixian, why didn't Zixian come?